Okay, we've switched to a different computer setup, so I don't have my usual intro on here. And boy, am I close to the camera. This is all different. Welcome to the after the premiere uh, live stream, and my green screen's kind of doing weird stuff. Anyway, hi, welcome. Look, I'm looking right at you because of where the camera's positioned. Um, I can't hear myself. I don't have a set of headphones on, but I assume I'm being heard, right? All's looking good. Well, there's some fizzlies up here, and I need the lighting to be a little bit more brighter on things, but we're obviously we're at the house today. What's that? The sound is on, and now we got an echo.
Okay, no, you don't.
Okay,
I was just checking.
Well, thanks for being here and watching Tim's account. As I had said earlier in the week, that he sent us cell phone footage, and we are allowing anyone who has a story to tell their story, even if they can't get to our studio and go in front of our professional cameras. If you have a story you want to go public with, you want to be on camera, and you want to talk about this stuff, I encourage you to, whether you use your laptop and record at 2K, or your phone and you record at 4K, or you have a video camera and you can get someone to shoot you and send us the footage. If you have a lavalier of some sort, a separate microphone, rather than using the one from the camera, those always sound better. But it's really up to you. And we'll take whatever you send us and we'll make a show out of it, because what's really important, and I'm sure most of you will agree, is the story, is the person's account. That's what really matters. It doesn't matter if there's lots of visual effects done by me in it, or flashy stuff. And I mean, yeah, I can do the flashy stuff with the best of them, but I don't really need to. And some of them, and that we're going to do, like we got Dale's coming up. He did come to our studio. He did go in front of our camera, and I'm going to do my usual work based on his description, and replicate what he saw. So that will continue. But in the case of Tim, he had drawings, and not many people who go in front of camera and tell their stories have drawings or are artists. So that is something I think that I love seeing myself. I love seeing people's artwork. I would love to go to Rice University and look at the communion letters artwork that is there. Well, all the letters are there. But what I didn't know, and then Whitley shared with me, and then I saw them laid out on a table, was artwork done by the experiencers who sent in those letters back in the late 80s. And so the footage was clear enough that I was able to freeze frame grab, drop it in to Photoshop and enlarge it and clear it up enough that I was looking at the drawings, and they were amazing. Because at that point, I had been doing my own drawings. I had never met these people. I have never seen their drawings before. And yet people I didn't know, didn't even know, sent in artwork to Whitley and Ann, had done artwork almost identical to what I had done. That was really a rush. And because, that was pre-internet and pre-communication the way we have now. So, oh boy, this week, I guess I'm getting messages, but the messages I'm getting from the visitors are coming in very visual content. And so I'm literally in this black book down here. Every time something happens like that, I do a drawing. I write down what the image was that I saw and was shown. And it's more than an image; it's actually a whole story. Some I'd love to talk about, but because I'm going to turn them into short films, I don't want to give them away. One of them has to do with nukes. Another one has to do with what was called the removal business in my favorite year. Some of you will know what I'm talking about. But they all have to do with the visitors showing me things that are going to happen up the road. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because we really need to have them happen now. I don't think I need to go into any detail. I think many of you will know exactly what I'm talking about. And I keep hearing it, the time is now, or it's time. And but we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I really don't. So if you have any questions or any things you'd like to share with me, it'd be good, because I really didn't have anything prepared to talk about tonight. Hey, Dr. Gale. I've got a meeting later up in Ojai with a couple of really close friends, and it's about this subject matter. And we're supposed to do a meditation tonight. Many of you will know who some of these people are that I need to go to. Steve, do you meditate? Absolutely. We should all be meditating. Also, I've spent the whole day. I've set up a workstation with a newer computer that's very powerful to do more CGI movies and more CGI effects with. And I needed to have this at home because, this way I could get up in the morning, go right to it. We're going to be using the studio to do practical effects and art and those things. And there are other computers there too that will allow me to do this stuff. But that took a lot of the day putting this behemoth together. But boy, do I like it. It's real pretty. I'll take a picture of it and share it with you later on during the week. But yes, I do meditate. Mary meditates. We should all be meditating. And this is what I'm told. Whitley and I have been talking about this, and meditation is probably the best way to communicate with the visitors, the best way to have contact with the visitors. And Whitley was telling me he starts meditating 11 o'clock with the visitors, and he does that until dawn, to like 6 a.m, which is incredibly dedicated. I don't think myself I can do that. I mean, I've got to get up at 5. I got to get ready for the day, go to work, all this work to do. But right now he's, between books, and he works so hard on the fourth mind that he has that freedom now to spend more time with them. And I'm sure that'll create another book. I sure hope it does. He's talked about maybe that was the last one, but he said that before to me. So if you're listening, Whitley, I'm sorry, but it's true. You have said that before, and we all look so forward to your books. I should be looking down here to see if there's any questions. I had the one about meditation, and yes, I do that. It's so important. And even if it's not to make contact with the visitors, it's important to calm your spirit, get in touch with your spirit. I've been watching a lot of things with Buddhist monks and people who are very familiar with the astral plane. And this one gentleman last night was explaining on stage that we are spirit in physical form. You can see the body, but you can't see the spirit. The spirit does not have visibility. And he was talking about how when the body ceases to exist, we're not exactly the same person anymore. And that was very interesting. But we very much still were part of the whole. So then I'm flipping across YouTube, and I wish I could remember his name. He's a Buddhist monk. He's great. And he was talking about exactly the same thing. He's saying the same thing, that we are invisible spiritual beings in physical form. He made an interesting statement. He said, the most important thing is to maintain your body's health. When your body is healthy, you have thousands of problems. When your body is unhealthy, you only have one problem. I thought that was pretty amazing. It's really true. You know, if you have your health, you have everything. You can afford to have lots of other problems. But if you're not healthy and you do have problems with your health, you need to fix that if you can. And he was talking about how to get past fear and all the stuff that's going on right now. And he was saying that it's in the breath. We keep having explosions. Some of them, I think, are Elon Musk garbage cans going up because we live really close to where they're launched, and they are very loud and they shake the whole house, especially when the booster lands, breaks the sound barrier. It scares the heck out of Nova, and I'm sick of him, and I'm sick of his rocket launches.
All right.
But anyway, so it just happened again. So I guess that's 2 of them he sent up today. So meditating will help you get past moments like this. Put you back in touch with your spirit, calm you down, find your peace, because that's what we need to have most of all right now. And this has been something that, according to the visitors, that's very important for us to have in order for us to have any kind of communication with them, contact, openness. So, any other questions besides, do you do silent meditation? I've heard people use a mantra. Yes. Yeah. No, I do like guided meditations, and I'm hoping Whitley does one of those tonight. And I don't know, something about his voice and the way he does it that just really calms me. Mary's done them too, same effect. Very, very soothing, very calming, really works well. But those are the only kind that we do that we don't do a mantra or a chant or any of those kinds of things. Sometimes we use music, the right kind of music, especially with Tibetan bells, which can be very, very helpful. I find them very soothing, and they put me in a resonance. It doesn't take much once I'm there before the visual show just starts to happen. It's amazing what happens. And the older I get, the more profound it has been. I think it was last night and this morning I shared with Whitley and my friend Mark Sims just a couple of drawings. Hey, Steve, are you? I'm looking around my camera. Are you sleeping well? Any chance have you been waking up around 3? I always wake up around 3. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, I'll wake up. I go to the bathroom. I come out. I check the cell phone. I tap on it and go, oh, 3:10. And I always play this little game too. When I'm in the bathroom, I say, okay, I wonder what time it is. The first image that pops in my mind after I say that will be the right time. Almost 100% of the time. I'll go out and tap on it and go, wow. But when I wonder what time it is, I'm going to really concentrate on it. You can forget it. It doesn't work. It's right there. It's boom. It's like reading psychic cards. I can do very well with those using the same technique. If you hesitate, you lose it. So, but seems to be a magic time. Well, I guess it is a magic time. I mean, when I was younger, living in Hollywood, I mean, I would work to sunrise often in the studio, and not unless I had to be on the set early in the morning, then I would obviously go to bed early so I got some sleep. For the most part, I was always making things to take on set, so I'd work. The best time to work was through the night, and no interruptions, no phones ringing, no people wanting to get your attention, banging on the door, any of that. But I just couldn't do it anymore. It's 9:30. It's Mary and I, we hit it. Because often we get up about 5:30 during the week, and on the weekend we might sleep in a little bit to 6 or 6:30. That is sleeping in to me now. This from the rock and roller Hollywood guy that was up to 4:35 would come out of studio and look and see the dawn on the horizon. I felt like a vampire. I had to get to my coffin. So you said there was another question, Mary?
Here's one.
Oh. Rachel. Hi, Rachel. I've heard things in the house during that time, but we often do, and sometimes see lights and things. And I know that either something's in the house, and I believe it's them, those guys right there. But I don't get up and look for them anymore. It's interesting. Nova will sit up on the end of the bed because she sleeps between us. Usually she puts her chin on Mary's ankles. And very comforting. And she'll sit up, kind of raise up into a sphinx position, and she will be looking in that direction where the sound's coming from, but she doesn't do anything. And then one night, she was facing the other way, and she was looking at something on the side of my bed. I couldn't see it, but she was seeing something. But then I have the visuals that I get. Things happen in my dreams, but when I wake up in the morning, when I first wake up, that's when I see the most amazing things. And this keeps happening more and more every day. I think I do have. Yeah, I shared these recently. Now, when I saw that, it was just after I woke up, and they were moving behind this field, and the field was moving, and the drawing really doesn't get it exactly the way I saw it. I did it very quickly in pastels. But this was like a web, and they were moving from behind it, and their eyes were gleaming, and it was really quite amazing. So I'm taking to drawing these things as they happen again. David, they've never said anything about it to me. Never have. Actually, that's not true. Back in the 90s, they told me to keep doing it. And what's interesting about that, hopefully I can find the other picture I did. What's interesting about it is that that's how Whitley kind of found me, was because of my art. And I got a call from him, one night back in the 90s, and I'm not finding it. And I remember when we started talking, at first I didn't think it was him. I thought somebody was pulling a joke on me. I've told this story before. He got a little indignant. I just love it. This is Whitley Strieber. And but we talked. We became really good friends. But he called me. He said, he talked about the artwork, and he said, it's very striking. How did you know? And it kind of went from there. I got a question here. Okay, let me go back to the comments here because I can't find that.
I already put one on the screen.
I see it. How do I communicate? Well, you go into deep meditation. You keep your mind open like a radio receiver. You have an intention to speak with them or communicate with them, but you don't, under meditation, keep having that thought. You start it as an intention. You empty your mind, and you're like an open radio receiver. And once they do start speaking, if they say something to you and you ask, then you can ask a question. I have done it where I've just been empty and I felt a presence there. And I remember the one time I said, how do I know you're really real? And it's not just my own mind talking to itself. And that opened up a whole conversation that I'll never forget. And then because it was about I am you and you are me and we're all the same and we're all the same spirit. And so you know what I know and I know what you know. And then I had Judy Goldschmidt and Susan Alloway come in front of our cameras, and we had not talked about this, and they said exactly the same thing in two different episodes of Breaking the Silence. But I've heard it again and again since.
Here's one.
So have the intention that you want to communicate, keep your mind open for the receiver, and just see what happens. What do they sound like, Simon? What do they sound like? What's interesting, if everybody talks to themselves, whether they admit it or not, you do. And you also talk, you don't have to, you'll say, geez, why did I do that? Or, how could it? But then you also do that in your mind. And when you do it, what do you hear? You hear your voice. But when you hear them, it's different. It's different. And it's, I know they're speaking in English, but there's a tone that's just different. That just tells you that it's not human. That's the best I can tell you, because I really, not unless you hear it yourself, and I don't know, maybe we all hear it differently even. Maybe we wouldn't hear it all the same. I don't really know exactly how it works. I don't think anyone does. But it's amazing some of the things that they will tell you and warn you about, and then years later they come true, or weeks later they come true, or in the case of this drawing, this drawing was done in 94. Where are you? There you are. And this was done in 94. And as you can see there, as a trade centers, you can see that a lot of there's a lot of city and it's underwater. You see a red sky. And this was 94. And this was an experience I had where I was warned about things that are coming. I have another one somewhere that shows a nuclear bomb going off, and thankfully that has not happened. But rising coastlines and climate change, everything is depicted here, including, and I didn't know that's what that meant at the time, was the loss of the trade centers, was there years before it happened. And that was one of those communications in an experience. And their voices, as I recall at that time, because I wasn't in meditation, but I was actually in their presence, was sort of childlike. It was sweet, soft. So that's a scary piece of art.
Another one.
Have any of you had something talk? I see it. I see it. I see it. It sounds like it's coming from a conscious machine. A few times I've heard a voice that's very mechanical, like it's coming from a machine. Yes. It was very loud, and it startled me because it was right inside my head. I remember one night, this had to be around 2000, somewhere in there, 2001. I was laying in bed, and I was drifting off, and I was having all these thoughts about, kind of the meaning of life and the universe and all this kind of stuff. And I had come on to something in my thoughts, and suddenly out of nowhere, this voice that sounded almost machine-like just went off in my head. That's exactly correct. I'll never forget it. It made me jump out of bed. Also, I've heard explosions in my head, like a bomb going off, but it's inside your mind. And I know other people have had that too, haven't you? I bet you have. So why did this stuff keep popping up there? So I hope I answered your question about the voices. I don't even know that it is a voice. I mean, it could be that we translate the communication into language somehow to make it easier for us to understand. I'm not sure. And that could taint how they sound. It may not be exactly them. I'm sure Dennis has some thoughts on that. But when I have been right there in front of him, it was childlike. In fact, I remember, childlike. A real innocence and a softness to it. But again, and female most of the time for me. So I don't think the visitors are bad. Well, Rachel, I don't think they are either. At least not the visitors that I'm dealing with. And what I mean by that is it could be that like our people, there are a lot of really good human beings on the planet, but there are a lot of really bad ones. And I keep getting news alerts down in the corner, which I had to turn off, speaking of real bad ones. And you can't judge a whole race or their actions by the actions of a few really bad people. And because we'd probably be like a burned out cinder a long time ago if we all behaved that way. To quote The Day the Earth Stood Still. But no, I don't think they're all bad, and I don't think they're bad, and I don't think that what I'm dealing with is bad. I think that they are definitely trying to help us, but they kind of want us to take care of it ourselves. They just want to give us the tools. A lot of this information, correct me if I'm wrong, Mary, is expressed in Whitley's book about it giving us the tools. Because Mary's been reading his book and I haven't had time. I read part of it and I had to stop. So, but I highly encourage you to read The Fourth Mind. We do within ourselves have the ability and the power to affect dramatic change in this planet. You don't have to have millions of dollars. You don't have to have lots of power, that kind of power, which really isn't power. Money is really not power. Many of you here know what I'm talking about because you've seen real power. Do I get flashbacks? No, not really. But, I do get flashbacks from the experiences I have. I do. What I mean by experiences is I'm taken. I'm in their presence. I believe it's physical. I'm not out of my body. I'm not in meditation. And these things flash into my mind. But also, when I'm not meditating and I'm going about my business, something will stop me in my tracks. And Mary knows about this. I'll say, I just got hit with this idea. I have to write it down right now. I have to draw it. And I'm really starting to think that a lot of it's coming from them. I could be wrong, but I do. Some of this stuff that I come up with is just, it makes me question, is it just strictly my imagination or is there more to it? And then when it mimics things that haven't happened yet, that makes me think all that much more. It's really important to be very honest about your experience. And just because maybe tonight, the Grays show LA being nuked and bombs going off everywhere and stuff, to get up and tell people that that's going to happen. It's really irresponsible, because you don't know 100% for sure, do you? So it's important to be honest, but it's also important to share the information, because a lot of times, hopefully that never happens, a lot of these things will happen. We've been watching a psychic on YouTube who, Linda, who basically predicted both plane crashes. Now, being an aviator myself, I knew the Philadelphia crash, what the problem was there, because the type of jet that it was, the fact that it just taken off, the fact that it went in that quick can only tell me one thing: the plane stalled, and it had been caused by loss of power, because at that point he was probably full throttle. That's when they're the heaviest, trying to get to altitude, level off. And if you lose power in that position, all you can do is hope to put the nose down soon enough and glide safely, which he couldn't have done, and land somewhere where there aren't houses, but there were houses at the end of the runway. So that was bad. The other thing is, I saw the video, which I wish I hadn't seen. I didn't know they were going to show it, of the jet going in. And the minute I saw it, I knew that was a stall. So one pilot suggested that maybe they could have even been tail heavy, and that will cause just terrible. But she predicted both the crashes, and as always, it's human error. It is. Whether it's the pilots, the ATC, or all combined, somewhere something went wrong. The mechanics, engine failed. It's just terrible. But Linda's amazing. She's rather matter of fact. She works with cards, but she's also psychic without them, and just she's got a really good track record. And so basically right now she's telling us not to worry. Well, it's interesting. She does every once in a while talk about the ETs. She's cracking me up right now just seeing her face. But what I find interesting is that we're in exact sync. People will be talking to me about things that are going on. I said, don't worry, because it's not going to last. It's going to go down sooner, very soon. And it's going to be over with, and yada yada yada. And then she says the same thing. So, and I think you'll find that if you look within yourself, even if you don't have these experiences, we all have these abilities. We just have to believe they're real, to know they're real, because it's been beat out of us since we're little kids. Nobody has powers. That's all BS. So, so we have a tendency to accept that, and then they don't work. But I have found that the visitor experiences helped those abilities along, and it's continuing. But just lately, the trick I did with the cards, the ESP cards. Some of you will know what those are. They have little symbols on them and stuff. If someone looks at one, and I know exactly what it is, and I did not have quite that ability back years ago. And so imagine if we were to develop our abilities more and more and more, and then collectively work together in sort of a vibration, a cooperation, we might be able to turn things around in a nonviolent way and get this poor planet some peace and rest. And it's something I've been thinking a lot about, obviously, as of late, because I can't believe the things I've been seeing, and I know it can't stop. And then what that Buddhist monk said last night, he said, there is a balance in the universe. There's a balance in nature. And when something gets out of balance, it cannot continue. It will have to change and go back to the balance, no matter what. That's how the universe works. And I've been saying that to Mary a whole bunch recently, and I said, "Don't worry, it's going to balance. It has to because it's too far tipped to one side." And I really absolutely know that that's the truth. So, working together in meditation, having open contact or any kind of contact with the visitors, and I think can affect change. I know it sounds crazy and new agey and all that kind of stuff. I've seen in the comments people talking about this new agey stuff and crystals and all that. Like, you know, it works. It's real. So I've been carrying a crystal around with me a whole bunch lately that Mary bought me for my birthday back in March. Was it my birthday you bought that for me?
I don't remember.
I think maybe it wasn't. And I just love that thing. It's a good size one, and I literally put it in my hand at night and fall asleep with it. And it gets, oh, look at that disappear there. The green screen. It literally, this thing gets so warm that it's hot. You know how your cell phone gets hot? This gets hot. Warmer than my body temperature. If I'm holding on to it, if I have it in my pocket or anywhere in my being, if I have it under my pillow. And I have noticed since I put this under my pillow, I think I sleep better at night. And it's doing weird things right now. Look how you can see the lettering of the poster through it. You see that right there? It's obviously an effect of the green screen, but over my face, because there's probably green coming through it. I highly encourage you to, you don't have to buy a ton of them, but get one or two and carry it on your person. If you have health issues, you may find you start feeling better. If you have trouble sleeping at night, you may find that your dreams improve and that you sleep much better and you sleep very solidly. But also your dreams will get very much more active. Mary sleeps next to me and I have this. And you've been having lots of dreams lately. She wakes up literally sometimes exhausted from them, but try it. They're amazing things, crystals. And as new age as some people may think they are, God, so much of our technology is uses crystals in everyday life in so many venues. Crystals do magic for us. So do any of you do this? Do any of you have crystals? Do you have a favorite crystal? They're sort of comforting. Yeah, well, they are Earth energy, but I think they channel the cosmos too. So we need another group meditation. Yes, we do. What would be really great is to somehow come together. We have our meet and greet meetings here once a month, and they are basically a support group meeting, but really it's like-minded people who have these experiences getting together under one roof for the day, sort of celebrating and talking about their experience. Yeah, I don't even know why that's on. But imagine if we did that and also had a meditation with a lot of you. I know we're all over the world, and it would be hard to do. Of course you do, Dr. Gale. So, Dr. Gale, you do feel that they are very capable of healing, not just the physical part of you, but the spiritual part as well. Oh, Simon, try sleeping with one of them. Things have been so scary lately, but it's become kind of my whoopee. It gives me it's like, yeah, it's my whoopee, it's my blanket, it's my security thing. Oh, Earl, thank you. See that lovely bell? Oh, there. The green screen messes it up. There's no green in that bell. What the heck? Maybe there is. Anyway, thank you, Earl. That's the home bell. We have the Tibetan bell at the studio when we're there. So, yeah, try that. Just try carrying around with it. Try sleeping with it. And Dr. Gale says, yes, yes. Yeah, I do too. I was a little skeptical at first, but I haven't been feeling all that well lately. And I've been to doctors, and they're really not finding anything wrong with me. But I've found since I carry this around and I sleep with it at night that I feel a heck of a lot better. And that could be also a psychological component to it, because you believe so strongly that it's helping you heal that it's like a placebo, and it's you that's healing yourself, because you do have that ability. I know Dennis will back me up on this, but the visitors are quite capable of healing their own bodies. And evidently we should be able to as well. There's been amazing things that have happened. I know people who had polio and were wearing braces and everything else. And I remember she claimed that the visitors healed her, because we showed up at a conference and she didn't have them anymore. And that just doesn't happen. She was fine. She was walking without them. Oh. Susan, thank you, Susan. Thank you for the love. Really, thank you. But whatever it takes to get you to heal, or to heal yourself, it's great. I still go to doctors, absolutely. I'm not going to take any chances. I'll try everything, So I doubt that. But when I think back about the bladder cancer I have, they had to do surgery to get the little sucker out of me, and it wasn't that bad. It wasn't fun, but it wasn't real terrible. You're but alive. I wondered, and I didn't want to take the chance either. But I really wondered, if I had done certain practices, could I have shrunk that out of existence so I didn't have to go through them? And I just don't know for sure. I don't. I know my late wife didn't trust doctors, and when she had her cancer, it cost her her life. So, geez, George. Thank you, George. You could just, did you turn off the sound on the phone?
No, I'm running back and forth.
Yeah, we have like I said, we're meeting two real close friends up in Ojai tonight. One of them's Whitley, and I think that's them communicating. They're getting all excited. We're supposed to be up there in a half hour. We'll get there. So, what an interesting conversation that we're having. It's kind of all over the map, but that's generally what happens. We used to do the pre-premiere show before the premiere, but then Mary's moved it to after, so we can talk after watching Tim, or anyone who goes in front of the camera. And Tim was very brave to do that. He had no other way to do it but to send us cell phone footage. He actually shot at 4K on that footage, but it was a little soft focus. But I sharpened it up a bit. And then I put the background behind it, kind of like this background here. But it was the desk I used in the visit. It was a set with that I made in 3D that had whatever UFO investigator or researcher would have on their desk: a bunch of didactic papers, pictures of UFOs, the odd bust in the background, everything. And I thought it made a really interesting setting for it. Obviously, he did not, send me video of himself on the cell phone. That was all done digitally, except for his cell phone footage. So I thought it made it more interesting that way than to just put up his video straight. So we have Dale. I'm. What's Dale's last name again, Mary?
I'm pulling a blank.
I'm pulling a blank. Is it Anderson?
No.
No.
Robinson?
Dale Robinson? Roberts? No.
I'm so distracted.
Anyway, Dale is someone who we met also through James Earl Jones. Not James Earl Jones. He's gone. Great actor. But Earl Grey Anderson, yes. And Earl, what is his last name? Because you're the one who told us about him. He's a pastor. And he has these experiences. Very much so. And so he drove down here from Oregon in his 4-wheel drive and checked into a hotel local. Robinson. You were close. Dale Robinson. Very nice human being. He never, in this story, he really didn't talk about religion or being a pastor at all that I can recall, but I'd start editing it on Monday. Again, amazing things happening around him, day-to-day life. He has experiences with the Greys. He had a few drawings of them. And then after we did the filming of him, he went and did a few sessions with Yvonne Smith under hypnosis because he's been working on that. And evidently he had some kind of blocks with it. Some people do because they are hesitant with hypnosis. I really like the way Tim described the hypnosis and what it was like. But it's interesting. You'll notice that Susan described it too, and it was very, very similar. And it is that way. I mean, I must have done about 30 regressions with Yvonne Smith because during the 90s, I was having experiences several times a week, sometimes back to back. I was exhausted. I was working at that time. This stuff was going on. I was having trouble with my late wife because she just was freaked out by it. And I'm writing down my journals, which unfortunately all got flooded when this house flooded. I was drawing. I was doing paintings of it. I was working with Yvonne. I was working with UFO Magazine. I was doing all kinds of TV programs. I was working with Roger Lear and with Whitley on the Communion Comics, Beyond Communion Comics. And we were always going to conferences, appearing on television together. It was a really exhausting and busy time. So, and it was that way. I remember the first time I went under hypnosis, it was like, I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't. But when I look back on it now, it was like you're there. And it was like a movie. And I could see very clearly. I remember this one time I came to on a metal table, or at least they're not uncomfortable, but it's some kind of metal. And when I woke up, I looked around, there were all these other people asleep or out of it on these tables, but I was awake. So I got up and left this room. There wasn't anything really alien about it. And I left this room and I saw these doors that swung open and there was glass in the doors. And I opened them up and I went out this hallway. And as I'm standing there, a gray was sort of a bluish gray tinge to their color, similar to this back here, maybe even more like this one over here. And I startled it. I didn't expect to see me in the hallway, and it seemed like it just came to the wall. And it had a dark suit on. I don't know if it was dark blue or black, but it was dark, and it just stared at me and stopped and said, "You're not supposed to be here." And then it left, and I went down to the end of the hallway. There were some doors that would swing open. I went through the doors, and when I came out, I was in this huge cavern, and built on the floor of the cavern with all these buildings, and there were lights, and there were Jeeps down there, and I could hear Jeeps driving. I was really disoriented. I didn't know where the heck I was. And then that's when I got grabbed from behind and pulled back. And these were guys in dark uniforms of some sort, either really dark blue or sort of almost a dark blue black. And I remember starting to lose consciousness and getting really kind of out of it. And that all came out during hypnosis, and I remember it that clearly to this day. I don't remember what happened after that point, but I think that there was nothing more there, and then Yvonne woke me up. So no, I have. I'm getting scratched by a dog. I have. Jesus, cracking me up. I don't. I know people are trying really hard, and I applaud them for that, but I really don't have much hope for that. I do think that disclosure will come. I don't think that we should call it that. It's more like an awakening or something like that, where we will just have open contact. And there's going to be so much activity in the skies and so many people reporting things, because you got to remember something. People are looking up now more than they ever have before because of the mix of our drones with actual UFOs during that whole period, which, by the way, is still going on. It's just they're not talking about it. There's other things more interesting to media right now. Less interesting to me. And because people are looking up, because they have cell phones, every day there's 200-300 videos, sometimes more, coming through. And a lot of them can be explained. Airplanes, actual drones, our drones, hobby drones, government drones, Amazon drones, whatever. But then a lot of those videos are clearly not that. And people know that, and they're seeing these things. And so it's like they're getting closer and closer and closer, and people are getting used to it and acclimated to it. And I think probably the next step after enough of that's happened might be actual open contact. And if that happens, there's your disclosure. But I think it's going to happen that way, because our government is never going to let it out. In my opinion, they're not, because that's giving up their power to admit that there are an intelligence here far beyond ours that they have no control over. And trust me, they do not. And why the heck, not that we do right now either, why would we respect their authority for 1 second after we were made aware of that? And when I say we, I meant globally. The population realizes that there's something really powerful, something really advanced, and it far above us. That doesn't mean better than us. It just means that they have more knowledge of the cosmos, of spirit, and how things work than we do. Why the heck would you listen to those idiots with the rattles in Washington? So that, in 1 second, completely deflates them of any power, and all their money and weapons and things won't be able to get it back. So for that reason, I don't think they ever will give it up. I just don't. And they're trying to back engineer stuff, and maybe they've been successful, maybe they haven't. I don't know for sure. I really don't. Like I said, you got to be honest about this stuff. It's possible that they have, but if they have back engineered it well enough to make it effective, I think we might know about it by now. But I really don't. I know it's certainly turned up in our technology. I don't even think we'd be having this conversation right now the way we're having it if Roswell hadn't happened, and a few other recoveries. Because, up to about the 1940s, from the turn of the century to the 40s, yeah, we discovered electricity and we developed a certain amount of technology. But then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, I'm sitting here looking at a machine on the floor, that's just packed with incredible technology. And the irony of it, and I'm going to pull my camera off here and give you a little peek at this machine. That's the inside of the machine. What do you see there? And here. So I find that really amusing. There, we're back. So there's a rumor going around that in the officialdom right now that the visitors will reveal themselves soon. I heard this from a guy with high security clearances, but not sure if it's true. You know, at one time I might have thought that wasn't be a good idea, but right now, considering what's going on, I think it would be an excellent idea. It couldn't make things much worse. It can only help, I think. And so if you guys are listening, and I know you are, to quote a very famous captain, make it so. You know, your son had an Alienware laptop. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, in fact, I got a little letter from Alienware when they first started, and they were concerned that my artwork was a conflict of their copyright for that image, but we soon resolved that because I had artwork going back of that very same shaped head, you know, way back. And in fact, as I recall, it was less pointed chin. I mean, it had a less pointed chin. It had a pointed chin, but it's less now, but who knows? I just found that amusing. So yeah, well, George, are you kind of talking about 0 point energy? I mean, I know that from electromagnetic generators that you can create energy and you can create levitation and stuff, but I think it's still important to have a power source, and that power source is all around us, and yet people have their doubts about 0 point energy being real. I don't think it is. My guess is the government attempted to. Yeah. I mean, you know, right now, I'm not saying everyone in our government is bad, but I certainly don't have any faith in them at all. That's gone. So it's up to us now to take matters into our own hands and just do the right thing. That's all. And when it comes to authority, you never blindly respect it. You question it. Because in my opinion, anyone who thinks they're an authority isn't. And I forget who it was the other day we heard, but they said, never respect authority, respect the truth. So I have to agree with that. So your sons are big gamers. I used to be a pretty big gamer. I did. I'm not so much. I have VR and I love it. We got 2 headsets here, so Mary and I can go on journeys together. Yes, we are. Disclosure, absolutely. And there was someone who asked about that. They said, could you make some of these visuals you're doing in CGI a VR experience? And I did that back in the early days. Well, that would have been what, about 7 years ago. I got my first VR headsets, and I was working with a program called Unity, and I recreated the whole scene you saw, but something is there in my bedroom. I recreated my bedroom. You are me as a child. You wake up in bed, you get out of bed, and you can move off the bed. You see the lights. You can go up to the window and look out the way I did. And then if you go and hide under the desk, the visitors come towards you. And it took some doing back then. It would probably be easier to do now because the technology just keeps getting better and better and better. And it is something I'm considering because I do have the tools to do it. Definitely have the tools to do it. And what I will be using my VR headsets for mostly is going into my sets that I'm making for the CGI movies, and I can go in there and arrange things and move things and set up things and actually be on that set in it, which is a lot of fun. But it would be also fun to make some films that were also you could look and experience in 3D. So it's something to think about. Something. So I wonder if they can design the reality. We have our deja vu. Can they have a whole technology for this? Geez, maybe. I don't know. Huh. It's Jamie Forbes. Them orbs healed me and elevated my IQ. Well, that's wonderful to hear. Mary had an experience. She when she woke up in the morning, couple of mornings ago, she what?
I wasn't going to share that.
You weren't? Oh, okay. We're not going to share that then. But she had an amazing experience that had to do with orbs. So, that's what my son does. Computer science, huh? Yeah, I feel like a bit of a computer scientist myself. I have never in my whole career as a visual effects artist learned as much as I have about how to work with the interface and the technology and the software of 3D imaging as I have recently. As I was talking to Mary about a little earlier, is that when I first started with Unreal, I had already had years of experience with Lightwave. Some of you will know what Lightwave was. It's like Maya and some of the other ones. Very difficult to use, I thought, at least compared to what I'm working with now. But even at that, Unreal unfolds, and so does Blender like an onion forever and ever. And when I first started using them a few years ago, I was using about 15% of its capability. And even at that, there were literally thousands of different things that you could select from the interface, and you couldn't possibly know all of them. I'm actually about to 65%, maybe a little bit more now, and it's amazing because now I'm finding that I don't have restrictions any longer. That if I need something, I need to have a metahuman reach a cup of coffee, pick it up, take a sip. I can do that now. But it took a lot of learning, and but I crammed it all in a little over a year. So it's just really a wonderful experience to be able to learn like that, and then have those capabilities and be able to apply them to the films I've been doing. So the one I'm working on right now deals with the lighthouse, and that's about as far as I'm going to go with it because I don't want to give it away. But it's probably the most cinematic thing I've done to date. I mean, it's a real full-on movie with amazing things in it, and I can't wait to share it with you. It's several weeks down the road, month and a half, because I need to spend that kind of time to really make it a good piece of work. And then I've got in the books down here, I've got 3 more stories that I'm going to turn into. So those will be in addition to when we have a space between people who are going to come on camera and talk about their stories and their experiences. There are the films you'll see in between those spaces we have. Are they based on actual experience? No, they're fictional. But then again, these are these things that pop into my head, and I'm starting to think now that it's coming from them. It may be. It's fun to think about. So it's 5 minutes to 5, and we have to take a trip up to Ojai. But I've really enjoyed spending my time with you as always. I want to thank you for all the support, all the love. Yeah, lots of that, and lots of love back to you. I can't wait to spend time with you again. Think about what I said. I know it's hard to go in front of camera and tell a story like this. There's a lot to consider before you do it. But if you do decide to do it, you can trust that we'll treat it with real care and not distort your experience in any way, shape, or form. Just your straight story, straight to camera, the way you saw tonight. And we'll see you later next week. Thanks, guys.